Hello everybody and welcome back to this INDESIGN class. In the last lesson we've talked about the type tool that we can find here on the left side. I showed you how we can work with that, what we can do, which options we have, and then we saw also how to place text from outside INDESIGN, from other programs like Word for example. So how did we do that? First of all, in order to type something, to write something in INDESIGN, we have to go here, select the type tool, click and drag as much as we want in order to create this text frame. Because as you will notice, a text is always inside of a text frame. Let's increase the font volume. Okay, so we have our text frame. Now we have different options. We can type something here, or we could fill this text frame with a placeholder text that we can find either up here on type, fill with placeholder text, or by right-clicking in a text frame, and we will find the same voice. Alright, let's now add another page, and let's see again how we can place a text from another program. So first of all, we have to go up here, File, click on Voice Place, and here we are. Let's choose the file we want to open. Let's check this box, really important, show import options, and then let's open. That's why it was important, because this way we have more control about the text we are importing, and we can decide some settings about the file we are importing. So basically what including with it, and the choice between removing or preserving the styles and formatting from the text we are placing. And then once we're done, let's click OK. Alright, so here I have my text. As we already saw, I can just click on the document. So this way we don't have actually control about, for example, the dimensions of the volume of the text frame. So INDESIGN is just gonna do it. Or we can click and drag. This way we can decide how big we want the text frame, and then we can open the text while pressing Alt from the keyboard. In this way we can create a small little text frame, for example, and this way we don't lose the text because we always have it here in our pointer, you see? So for example, if you want to put here the text, then maybe there's an image in our page, so then we are gonna just create another text frame. And of course, you have some text. So for example, now you see that there's no more text to open. So that's it. And then we have actually another way to open text. We can just create a first text frame. And if it's too small, because maybe this is all the space we have here, and so I just can create this text frame, I will just click on this red sign here, take the text that it got cut off and place it somewhere else. And this way, even though I have two text frames, the text is always connected. So for example, if I'm here in the first one and I press enter, you see that now I'm already in the second text frame because they are connected. So now we don't actually see it, but if we go on View, Extras, and if we click on Show Text Threads, here it is, there's this blue line that shows us that they're actually physically connected. So here it is, there's the proof. Alright, and now I will add another page, and we can also maybe change some settings. So we'll go on Layout, Margins and Columns, and I will add another columns. Alright. And I will show you now how to open a long text. Alright, so let's, for example, delete this one. Alright. Now, we could go back on File and then click on Place, but we can also do it with the shortcut, which is Ctrl+D. So let's try it. And here we are already here in our folder. So let's choose the document we want to open and open. Again, here we can decide some settings we want, and then here we are. Another options we have to open a text, especially when they are pretty long, we can open in them pressing Shift from the keyboard. And then we just click on the edge of the margins. And here it is, the text is just gonna open itself, perfectly aligned with the arrangement of the page. So following exactly the columns of these pages of our document. And here again, if we click on the text, we will see these text threads that actually show us that these 3 text frames are connected. Alright, so this was what we saw in the last lesson. Let's begin with today's lesson.
Alright, so let's close this document and let's create a new one. So here on the blue bottom, new file.
Let's set this document of 3 pages. And this time, for a change, we can do landscape orientation. Alright, so let's create it. Alright, so here we are. Today we are gonna focus on the type tool, but we're gonna go a bit deeper into it. And mostly, we're gonna talk about the type on a path tool, which we can find right here by right-clicking on type tool, here on the left side. Right, so what type on a path tool means? So basically, with this tool, we can write not in a simple text frame, but on path. So for example, on a line, or for example, on the edges of a rectangle shape or an ellipse shape, or whatever shape you prefer. Right, so let's do some examples in order to get it right. Alright, so let's start with a simple line. So here's the tool, line tool. Really simply, I will just click here on the document and then I will drag the line whatever I want. And if I press Shift from the keyboard, it will help me to set my line on certain angles. So if I want the line to be straight or 45 degree, 90, if I want it straight, and so on. So let's do a line of 45 degrees. Perfect. Alright, so now I can also, for example, be bigger. Alright. And here I can choose the color or the size of it. Alright, so now that we have the line, so we have the path, let's go here on the type on a path tool. And as you can see, as soon as I go with the pointer on my line, a plus sign shows up. So it means that I'm in the right spot. And I just have to click on it. And as you see, now I am ready to type. So for example, hello everybody. So really simple. And do you see this little line here before the H and here in the middle and also here at the end? If we point on this, we see the pointer change and we have different options. So for example, if I take the one before the H and drag it along the line, I can move my text, or I can also take this one and move it on the other side of the line. And this way, I will have my text upside down. So I can move it, I can put upside down, really cool. Okay, let's see now with other path. Let's maybe reduce this a bit, perfect. And let's create a new one. So with the pen tool, I will create some lines just by clicking on random points through the documents. And as you see now, all the lines I'm creating are really straight. If I want to create some curves, instead of just click and release, I have to click and move it a bit before releasing. So as much as I want, depending on the curves I want to create. You see? So I click, move it, and then release. Okay, maybe this is too big, so let's create a new one. So let's, for example, create a wave. Alright, perfect. Alright, here we are. Now that we have our wave, our path, let's go back on the type tool. And of course, let's select the second one. And here we are, you see, as soon as I have the plus sign, I just have to click, and now I'm ready to write.
And also here I can, by right clicking, fill with placeholder text. So this one is really cool because I can really create every path, every line I want, every shape I want, and I can just put text on it. So also this one is really nice. And as we said before, we can also create some shape like rectangle, ellipse, or a polygon. So for example, let's choose this one. And if we double click on it, we can also insert some settings. So the number of sides, let's do 5. And these are insets. So let's, for example, do 20%. All right. And now we're ready to create our shape. So also here we can drag it as much as we want, but if we click on Shift from the keyboard, we can create a perfect proportion shape. So for example, like this, perfect. Okay, let's maybe bring it to the next page so that we have more space to work. Alright, so now when we have a shape like this, we can either write on the edges outside, so here on this path, or also inside. First of all, type tool, and again here, as soon as we see the plus sign, we click, and then we can fill it with our text. Perfect. But we can also write inside of this particular shape with the normal type tool. So let's right click on here, and then let's choose the first type tool. And as you probably noticed, once we enter the shape, so once we are into the star, my pointer changed. So inside I have the circle, outside I have the rectangle. So the circle here means that we are actually going to write inside this shape. So we can just click, and here we are, align the text in the center, and maybe let's center the text a bit by pressing enter. So here we are, we can type our text here inside of the star. And yeah, here we are. So when we have this kind of shape, we can write outside of them or inside of them. Alright, so let's create now another shape. So let's go back here on the left side, and this time let's create a rectangle shape. And here we can create our shape. Alright, we could also, for example, choose a different color. So maybe a green. We can also create the size, the volume of the line. Alright, now I have my shape, and I will go here, select the type on the path tool, click as soon as I see the plus sign, right click, fill with placeholder text. And here I am. Alright, so let's now fill this shape with some color. So we'll go up here, and I will choose a light blue. Perfect, I like it. And now let's type something also inside, but let's connect it to the text outside. So using the threading tool. How can we do that? So first of all, I will just copy the text here on the path. With Ctrl plus C, I will copy it. And then by pressing Ctrl plus V, I will paste it. Of course, now I have this red plus sign, which is saying to me that there's some text which got cut off. So we'll just click on it, and I will place it inside of the shape. But how can I be sure that I'm really going to type inside of it? Because as you can see, as soon as I enter the shape, these two bricks will show up. You see? Right on the pointer. Outside I have nothing, inside I have two black bricks. So here I can click inside, and here we are. Alright, so let's maybe align to the center. Perfect. So now I have the text here on the path around the rectangle, so on the edges of it, connected to the text inside. And again, in order to see that, I have to go here on View, Extras, Show Text Threads. And you see there's like a small one here that connect to two texts.
Let's work now on the left page. Alright, so we have the whole page to work on. I will show you that also when we write with a normal tool, so when we have this simple text frame, we can also change the shape of it. And this time for a change, let's not fill it with a placeholder text from INDESIGN, but let's go find a text here on text generator, which there are really many on internet. This is an example here. And as you can see here, we can change different texts. So we have different presets we can choose from. We can also choose the number of words or characters and also how many paragraphs we want in it. So for example, let's put, I don't know, 100 words and in 3 paragraphs. All right. And now let's copy it with Ctrl+C. And then once we are back in InDesign, Ctrl+V. Here we are, we have our text. Alright, so now we have the typical shape of the text frame. As you can see here, we have a yellow bottom here that, as he's saying, it will edit corners. So let's click on it. And as you can see now, every corner of the text frame has a yellow bottom on it. So by clicking on them and drag them, we can change the shape of our text frame. So we can round up the edges of it. Of course, now I have some text which got cut off because we reduced the space. So we just increase the volume, perfect. And another tip, if we press Shift and then we click just one button, we will see that we are adding just this angle here, while instead before, by not pressing Shift, even if we click just on one, we will move all 4 angles. You see, we are editing all the edges at the same time. But if we press Shift, we will just change the one we are actually clicking. So we can make different shapes. Alright, so then you can play with it as you want. And if we go here on View Options, we can also decide not to show the frame edges. So we'll just have this text with this particular shape with no frame around it. And another thing I want to show you is the info panel, which we can find from Window, Info. So now, if we click inside of the text, we will see here in the panel some information about, for example, how many characters there are, same as words, line, and paragraphs, which can be really useful, for example, when we want to trace them down. So, for example, we want to be sure of how many words we are writing, and also, for example, when we have really long texts and it's really hard to count them or to see them all together. So in this case, this info panel can be really helpful, and it takes count of them for us. So it's a big help. Alright, so also for this lesson, it's all. I hope you were able to follow me and I hope you enjoyed it. In the next lesson, we are going to keep talking about the text, but particularly about the characters and paragraphs and more. So stay tuned. I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye bye, everybody.